It's something about like collective consciousness and the more dominant. I was going to say wins, but it doesn't always win the way they're showing it. I'm not sure exactly how to. They were even showing all the way down to like marriages, where if the leader of the ship, again, just traditionally, like if the man was strong enough and aligned with unconditional love, like truth, clarity, and was going in one direction, and the wife let fear seep in or planted a seed of doubt, it could slip the masculine if the masculine hasn't mastered his mind and his connection. But if they're one, they're a unit, his better knowing will outwin despite the talk. And then they were showing that broader, and then the concept of, because we're all a part of the whole and we're all picking up on one another and we're all feeding into this. It's what are you feeding into this? And is your feed into it aligned? So meaning if you're connected and then you feed into the consciousness, that positive truth, that can outnumber a tremendous amount of the negative. So it actually has more weight, more validity, more value than the negative. Yet, one, if you're not speaking up, you're not putting it out there, or you're not staying strong or aligned, and the negative starts to outweigh, that's when it was like, well, the majority, well, it would win. The consciousness would then become more negative, more fearful, more lower energy. But then that's like the built-in default. Once it goes to negative, that's when nature has to balance the scales and things come into play, of which we scramble and focus on as if we can then control it then or change the fate then. We always can if we change the mass consciousness, because you're just going to get the mirror back. But so if the mirror continues to be the dominant ego, negative individual, selfishness, then that's what we'll get back, and that's the idea of another ice age, another wipeout, another whatever. Like reset. Okay, let's try it again. That's why I said it's not like it wins. That you don't exactly win then, I don't think, but it does supersede. It's just a matter of how long. It's like how long can it's almost like they're showing scales that are struggling. It's like struggling to keep it balanced, but it also looks like it. Honestly, the way they're showing it, it looks like the scales are going to break. It doesn't even look like they're going to balance that out, or one can be heavier than the other. The way they're shaking it and attempting to keep it balanced is it makes the little imagery they're showing me look like it's just going to crash and burn. It's going to break. It's not going to be able to scale anything, justify anything, balance anything in just a second is what it looks like. I think it's all the same thing that they've been telling us and teaching us. Very tired right now. I have been lately. Maybe it's the heat, I don't know. None delays. Was that it? Was it all? Maybe so. I feel like it was a few other ones, but I think they're all the same. I think all the imagery they were showing was essentially the same. It was just on different scales. This is when I finally realized that they were all essentially the same, just closer to home and farther from home, essentially. I guess the idea of micro and macro. Showing the more dominant wins. Although I guess maybe they're even just showing, that can also be said by the simplicity of what you surround yourself with, right? So who's more dominant? Right? So like if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of like really uplifting, positive, forward-focused or present-focused, even better, but in a peaceful manner, not in a present instant gratification, but in a present, sitting still, absorbing, being fully like awake, aware, alert to what is happening so you can soak it in, right? Giving that beautiful presence to another, sharing. Then if you're surrounded by that all the time, you become more like that and more joyful, more uplifted and more wonderful. But if you're surrounded by a bunch of negative Nillies or pessimists or drug addicts or whatever the case, then eventually, if you're not strong enough to keep your alignment, you're going to eventually become just like them. But this is what we talk about, the why stay in the tsunami zone. That's actually a really good example of that, right? Because then you have to at some point be like, why are you trying to stay in alignment when they have zero interest in getting in alignment with you? You're not rubbing off on them. You're just fighting to keep your alignment. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like they're trying to pull you back down to their lower vibration or to becoming a drug addict, and you're like, no, and you're trying to influence them. So now you're just playing tug of war. So move along, move out of this tsunami zone, and allow them to choose whatever they're going to choose. But you have to choose you. Yeah, I guess it's all saying the same thing. Does that come into play here? They're showing opposite and equal reaction. They've been showing that a lot lately with a lot of things that I've been listening to, which can boil down to that simplicity, which is the mirror, which is the universe, which is what you're putting out is what you're getting back. It's all the same. But we can't seem to always hear it, can we? It's your ego blocking, which is so comical. It is really comical how he set it up. Oh boy. Excuse me. Oh. Yeah, so I don't know if that's what they're saying even right here. Sorry, we're having other conversations. The conversation we were having silently, I sometimes forget I'm not talking, is that I have been watching, but I feel like they've directed me there to watch a few clips that I have found very fascinating, very interesting, and the dynamics that are going on in this world. Although they do, the conversations I've watched, and I did check them because I was like, is this happening right now? Is this recent? And sure enough, it was, in the last month or so. And I thought, well, damn, they definitely are very educated people who seem very qualified to discuss the things they're discussing and to inform us in a somewhat neutral manner. I don't know that anybody is truly capable of that other than Switzerland. It's like most people are influenced even when they appear that they're not. And so for the most part, I feel like the few places they took me to, it was somewhat, for the most part, that was the intention. And that's funny. Yeah, I'll share that one in a minute. And yet still it was overall doom and gloom, right? Certainly wasn't uplifting or positive or encouraging. And so I thought, well, on one hand, I very much enjoy listening to intellectual people and hearing what they have to say and explaining it the way they do. I find it fascinating, very, very interesting, their take on things, their view of things, their perspective, and their reasoning. It's very rational. I mean, a lot of it is just enjoyable, right? It's enjoyable to hear smart conversations. And yet, it leads to other thoughts and considerations, and your mind also engages. And so, it's like that slippery slope where ultimately, it all boiled down to the same thing. What are you going to do about it? And what are the choices you're going to make? And how are you going to live your life? And so jumping in and adding to that pool adds to that negative pool, benefiting no one. And so there's that. But what I had interrupted earlier saying, I'll tell them later, was there was something that was actually very political and science-based and war theory, game theory. It was a very interesting conversation. I very much enjoyed it. And at the end, the gentleman said something very lovely. And he didn't say God, he didn't say any of that, but to me, it's the same message. It was very much like, love yourself, love your neighbor, decide how you'd like to live your life. And I thought, thank you, right? Because that is the bottom line, right? Unless you're part of those key players, you're then part of the negative noise if you jump in, right? It's like there are only so many people that have the authority and the power to do what they're doing, and the rest of us really are noise. So we need to make really conscious decisions, and that's challenging because most people are so influenced and led on a leash. They're deciding what they're deciding based on so many factors outside themselves that they're really unaware of it. So they're getting pulled into the vortex that the vortex wants them pulled into, because it benefits that vortex, those people who are pulling the strings. If you do fuss and fight about, if you do argue about things that you actually don't have a say in at all, you're spouting your opinion and what you're doing because they're pulling on those strings of yours. You may choose not to admit it, but that's the reality of it. And you choose not to admit it because you don't know it. You don't even recognize it or realize it. So, there's that.
Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.